Finally, my new computer came in. Oh, I've been waiting so long for this. I know you guys had watched me just do like a voiceover over the thing, and it was super small because the way I had to record on just an absolute nightmare. But we got the computer now, brand new computer with OBS. I'm moving it around. You can there will be scoreboards on streams too. That's something else that comes with the computer. But today you will be getting two videos. You'll be getting a World Series preview, which may already be up, depending on when I want to upload it. And college football week. Oh my god, week 9. Week 9 picks. We got our board, lovely board here. New top 10. 2 featured games. One of them's going to be, they're both going to be good games, but one of them's drastically important for the landscape of the Big Ten. It's going to be a great week. There are some good games on tap for this week. Let's take a look at the top 10. Who in the top 10 lost? Did anyone in the top 10? I don't think anyone in the top 10 lost. There were some teams, though, that barely were able to squeak away. Let's just start with Oklahoma. Barely able to squeak away against a pitiful, terrible, bad 1-6 Kansas team. They were down the majority of that game. They came back to take the lead 28-17, but here comes Kansas. They scored to cut it to a 5-point game. And then Oklahoma was going for it on 4th and 1, and they got stopped, but quarterback Caleb Williams takes the ball from running back Kennedy Brooks and got a first down. He intentionally stripped the ball from his own player, which, if you think about it, was extremely smart because he's getting tackled. He has nowhere to go, and it's on 4th down. So, really great play by Caleb Williams, but still had to struggle, bite, and survive. Look me in the eyes right now. Tell me right now that Oklahoma is finishing the season undefeated. They're not. There is no way Oklahoma isn't losing another game, because they're barely squeaking by these pretty bad Big 12 teams. They still have yet to play the 3 best teams in the conference besides themselves. They still have yet to play Baylor. They've still yet to play Iowa State, and they still have yet to play Oklahoma State. Now, of those teams, they each have one Big 12 loss. Obviously, Oklahoma State beat Baylor. Baylor beat Iowa State. Iowa State beat Oklahoma State. So they're in that little triangle circle of one loss. Oklahoma has to play all of them, 2 of which on the road. They're going to play Baylor and Oklahoma State on the road. They're going to have to get their act together, because beating Kansas by 5, or they scored a touchdown, but late. But barely beating Kansas, not going to cut it. Who else struggled? Cincinnati struggled against Navy. They were down for a portion of that game. They took the lead 27-13. You're like, okay, game's over. Navy scores pretty late in the game to make it a 1-score game. They go for the onside kick. They get the onside kick. Luckily, Cincinnati came up with a stand. I'm going to give Cincinnati more of a pass rather than Oklahoma, because I think Navy's better than Kansas. Just because Navy can give you that triple option element. It sometimes can throw a team off. But still, Cincinnati, no more of that, because you're going to have to start blowing some teams out if you want to make a playoff case. They already have a terrific playoff case, but they're going to have to start winning more convincingly. You know who? And then Oregon. I'm going to give Oregon a little. Here's the thing. I think that was a good win for Oregon, because they had to go on the road to a hostile environment in the Rose Bowl against a very good UCLA team. And they were not favored in that game. They were underdogs. UCLA was favored by 1 point. UCLA was favored in that game, and they found a way to go out on the road and win that game. I think that was a good win for Oregon. Who else? Georgia was on a bye. Michigan won convincingly against Northwestern, 33-7. I'm telling you, watch out for Michigan. They're starting to blow out some teams that really come into their form. Bama, they close win against Tennessee. I know the scoreboard said they won by a bunch, but a 7-point game in the fourth quarter. They kind of just opened it up near the end. Ohio State. I was at the Ohio State game when they played Indiana, and oh my God, they were dominant. Absolutely dominant stuff from the Buckeyes. They looked like they could be the best team in the Big Ten. I mean, they were just rolling through everyone. They just looked amazing. Oregon, we're talking about Michigan State was on a bye. Iowa, I think, was also on a bye. And then Ole Miss, they went out and beat LSU. They squeezed into who in the top 10? Someone in the top 10 lost. Hold on, I need to look at who was in the top 10 last week. Someone lost. I know someone lost. Oh, Oklahoma State. They lost to Iowa State. That was a big win for Iowa State. Get them back on track in the Big 12 conversation because they only have one conference loss. Because their other loss was to Iowa on a conference. So good for them to get back into that conversation. Big 12 is wide open right now. And I'm not even sure Oklahoma is the best team in the Big 12. But Ole Miss took Oklahoma State's spot. I kept Georgia and Cincinnati at 1 and 2. Michigan, I think, they have looked the next best of the undefeated teams. Then Alabama and Ohio State. They are definitely the two best one-loss teams. Of the teams with one loss, Alabama and Ohio State are a cut above the rest. Then you've got two more undefeated teams, Oklahoma and Michigan State, both. I think they're a little bit below Cincinnati and Michigan. And then Oregon, Iowa, and Ole Miss, I think, are the next best one-loss teams. Knocking on the door of the top 10 would be Wake Forest. They dropped 70 points on Army. Gave up 56, but dropped 70 points on Army. That was impressive. The defense was not, but the offense was impressive. Also knocking on the door of the top 10, Notre Dame. They continue to win. Everyone kind of wrote Notre Dame off after they lost to, what's their name? Who'd they lose to? Cincinnati. After they lost to Cincinnati, everyone kind of wrote them off. They haven't lost since that game, and they probably won't lose again. Other teams looking impressive. Pitt. Someone please tell me how Pitt lost to Western Michigan. They've been rolling through teams ever since they lost to Western Michigan. I mean, I don't understand how that even happened. The world may never know. But Pitt looks really impressive. That quarterback they got, Kenny Pickett, he's looked really good. UTSA, 8-0. Who would have known? Oh, yeah, you know who else lost in the top 10 that did not look very good? Or they were 11 in my rank. Penn State lost in 9 overtimes to Illinois. Man. Penn State. About to be a game of the century matchup against Ohio State. Now it's just looking like another Ohio State beatdown. Disappointing stuff. But let's get into the weekly picks, shall we? Enough pomp and circumstance. I'll give you the spread for each game. I finally have my phone handy. I'll give you the spread. Coastal Carolina and Troy. Coastal Carolina, 18.5-point favorites at home. They should have no problem with a 4-3 Troy team. Cincinnati, 24.5-point favorites against Tulane. They should have no problems. I think Cincinnati's got to. I think this is a big game. Cincinnati needs to win this game convincingly. Here's why. Oklahoma played Tulane and only beat them by 5 points. So Cincinnati could go out and beat the brakes off of a 1-6 Tulane team. It'll look pretty good because that's a common opponent with Oklahoma. Iowa and Wisconsin. I have a feeling this game could get bad for Iowa. Now, Iowa lost the last time they played. They lost to Purdue. They had a bye week this past week. Wisconsin just went out and beat Purdue. I was very good on my picks last week. 23-5. A lot of ranked teams were underdogs against ranked teams. Wisconsin was one of them, and everyone was out picking Purdue. I'm like, I'm not so sure coming off that emotional win. Wisconsin looked really impressive. They were running the ball, and they get it at home against a top 10 team. I don't know. I feel like we kind of saw Iowa. I feel like Iowa might be kind of frauds. I feel like people are seeing Iowa for the team they are. I mean, a lot of those really impressive wins they had earlier in the year aren't really looking so good now. Like Penn State, that does not look as great of a win. Indiana does not look as great of a win. Neither is Iowa State. So I feel like people are kind of done with the Iowa train. Wisconsin is even a 3.5-point favorite. Rivalry game, I think they win big. This is my big prediction this week. I think Wisconsin takes down Iowa. Texas and Baylor. I'm gonna take Texas. Baylor's been a weird team to figure out. They're 6-1, but have they looked really impressive in any of their games? Not really. They beat BYU. That was a good win, but they lost Oklahoma State. I mean, I don't know what to think of Baylor. And Texas is in need of a big win, and they're actually favored on the RPI or what's it called? FPI, Football Power Index. ESPN's FPI actually has them favored, 53%. Baylor is 2.5-point favorite on the spread. I think Texas goes out and they win this game. I just think that they're gonna have I have a good feeling about Texas here. Pitt and Miami, man, does Pitt look good? Them and Wake Forest might be the two best teams in the ACC. Man, who would have thought? Pitt and Wake Forest. Pitt and Wake Forest, man. I'm gonna take Pitt over Miami. Miami somehow beat NC State. Don't know how, but they did. Pitt's rolling though; they should win. Iowa State and West Virginia. West Virginia, less than impressive this year. They're 1-3 in Big 12 play, and I feel like, sorry, I feel like Iowa State's starting to find their. Oh my God, I'm dying here. I feel like Iowa State's starting to find. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to take Iowa State. Louisiana Lafayette. Remember, they played Texas the first week. They lost. Haven't lost since then. They're rolling. Everyone thought they were going to be a really good team this year. Might be the best team in the Sun Belt after Coastal Carolina toted a big fat L to Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina toted a big fat L against App State. I'm going to take Louisiana against Texas State. Georgia and Florida. The line for this game is only 14 in favor of Georgia. And Georgia has been a machine covering the spread this year. I mean, the only game they didn't cover the spread was against South Carolina. They only won by 27. They've just been a machine when it comes to covering the spread. They didn't cover against Kentucky either, but that's because Kentucky's were last time. Florida's not good. They're just not good. I mean, they lost to Kentucky. They lost to a bad LSU team that's finding a new coach, and Georgia's only favored by 14. That's a rivalry game, so they're going to get up for this game. Georgia wins big. They've only given up 44 points all year on defense. Some teams might score 44 in a game this week. Oklahoma and Texas Tech. I am waiting, dude. I am just waiting to lay the hammer on Oklahoma. Once they lose, they're not even in my top 10. I want to see them lose so badly. They've just looked so unimpressive. I don't think it's going to be against Texas Tech, though. I don't see Texas Tech getting the win. If they're going to lose, it's going to be to either Iowa State, Baylor, or Oklahoma State. Those three teams are coming, and Oklahoma better get their act together. They should be able to win against Texas Tech at home, though. Oregon and Colorado. Good win for Oregon. They're still alive in the playoff race. Would you take a one-loss Oregon or an undefeated Cincinnati? I feel like more people than most are going to say Cincinnati. But if the Big Ten beats each other up, Oregon could sneak their way back in, and they have that big win against Ohio State. That's going to really help them out a lot. And I think they should be able to get a win against Colorado. But they're kind of in the same boat as Oklahoma. You might need to start beating these teams by more than you have been. I mean, Oregon, they have not looked impressive in some of their games. What, they beat Cal by 7, beat UCLA. I mean, I'll give them the UCLA game, but they need to start blowing some teams out. And it starts with that bad 2-5 Colorado. You're favored by 24. Hopefully you can win by more than 24. I don't think it'll happen. I mean, Oregon has struggled against worse competition, but we'll see what they can do. Duke and Wake Forest, man, can anyone in the ACC stop Wake Forest or Pitt? I don't know. The world may never know. Take a Wake Forest over a horrible Duke team. Kentucky and Mississippi State. Why do these teams play every year? Like the SEC cross-divisional games, like Auburn plays Georgia every year. Tennessee plays Alabama every year. Florida plays LSU every year. Those are cross-divisional games that are rivalry games. But then you've got Kentucky and Mississippi State. Ole Miss plays Vandy every year. South Carolina plays Texas A&M. Like, why? When they add Oklahoma and Texas, I really hope they do pod scheduling. Pod scheduling is amazing. I might make a video about that. The possibilities of pod scheduling. Pod scheduling is great. What's the spread in this game? This is an interesting game, spread-wise. Kentucky is favored by 1. I definitely think they'll go out and they'll win the game. Mississippi State is 4-3, and they've looked less than impressive this year. Give me Kentucky. Kansas and Oklahoma State. I expect Oklahoma State to bounce back after a tough loss on the road at Iowa State. Just remember, kids, you can't win at Iowa State. It's just something you can't do. That's what everyone says. You can't win at Iowa State. Can't win at Iowa State. Second time in the last 10 years, a top 10 Oklahoma State team has lost at Iowa State. I'm going to take Oklahoma State, though, to bounce back against a bad Kansas team. They beat Kansas by a lot more than Oklahoma did. That's impressive. This is a big game, especially in the American. 7-0 SMU takes on 6-1 Houston, and both teams are undefeated in conference. And Houston comes into this game, I think they're favored. Houston is a 1-point favorite. The FPI has this game at a near coin flip. It has SMU at 50.1%, Houston at 49.9%. I'm going to take SMU on the road. I'm a big believer in SMU. I feel like of all the teams that can give Cincinnati a run, they're definitely it. If they could go into that Cincinnati game undefeated, they could have just as much to play for as Cincinnati themselves. I mean, who knows? SMU's been rolling. They're undefeated. They might be the best team in Texas. Who knows? They've been looking great. This will be a great game. At 6 o'clock on ESPN2, I'm definitely going to be tuning into this game. I'm gonna take the Ponies. Penn State and Ohio State. Man, did Ohio State look great against Indiana. Ohio State scored on all 6 of their offensive drives in the first half against Indiana. And they got a safety, too, just for the hell of it. Penn State could only get 18 points in 9 overtimes. This game won't be close. Ohio State big. They're favored by 18.5. They'll cover. Arizona and USC. Arizona is becoming the joke of the college football year. Sorry, Wildcat fans. I mean, it was UMass and UConn, but they both won games. You haven't. You're 0-7. Lost to Northern Arizona earlier in the year. You might win the Clown of the Year award, Arizona. USC is going to beat you blind. Notre Dame and North Carolina. This is a fun one. Notre Dame favored by 3.5. I think they'll win at home. I just haven't seen enough from North Carolina. I had them going undefeated in the regular. I had them going undefeated throughout the regular season in my preseason picks. Lost to Florida State for the second year in a row. My God, I did lose to Florida State. Lost to Georgia Tech and Virginia Tech. It's just been an interesting season for North Carolina. Notre Dame is starting to find their groove as a team. You're looking better and better each week. I'll take the Irish. BYU and Virginia. Interesting game here. How much is BYU favored at home? BYU is favored by 2.5 at home against a pretty good Virginia team, 6-2. Virginia is actually favored on the FPI. But I like BYU at home. Far travel for Virginia. BYU. They've been interesting this year. They've played a lot of Power 5 teams. But they lost to Boise State and Baylor and almost lost to Washington State. I think they get back on track with a win against Virginia. Here's a quietly good game starting at 9:30 Central Time. 6-2 Fresno State takes on 7-0 San Diego State. This is for the lead in the Mountain West. I've seen some great things out of San Diego State. They are currently undefeated, and they should have no problem. They should be able to get this win against Fresno State. A good Fresno State team. A Fresno State team that almost beat Oregon. A Fresno State team that did beat UCLA. Who knows what can happen in this game? I'm going to take San Diego State, though. Oregon State and Cal. Oregon State, they've gotten some votes to be ranked. They look like a very good team. Watch out, Civil War last week of the season. Could they upset Oregon? Who knows? They looked like a very good team. They've had some pretty good wins. They should have no problem against a 2-5 Cal team. And UCLA and Utah, don't pay attention to the score. I didn't have enough room. This isn't my actual score. I'll say 37-30 UCLA wins. All right, featured game time. I'm going to tell you why this Ole Miss Auburn game means more than you may expect, more than you may think. People think Alabama is just penciled in to go to the SEC championship. And they may be right. But there is a very high possibility that they could not even make it to Atlanta. They're sitting at one conference loss. Ole Miss is sitting at one conference loss because Alabama beat them. So Alabama holds the tiebreaker. So what Ole Miss needs to do is they need to run the table and for Alabama to lose another game, which would probably be to Auburn. If Alabama's going to lose the game, it's going to be to Auburn. And Texas A&M's sitting there at 2 losses, and they hold the tiebreaker against Alabama. So whoever wins this game is going to have a decent leg up over the other ones in the SEC. Now, Ole Miss brings their high-powered offense with Matt Corral and company. Auburn brings Bo Nix to the table. You never know what you're going to get with Bo Nix. Now, it is at home for Auburn. That's a huge advantage. They have the better defense, I think. It's just, Ole Miss has looked really good in their last few games. I mean, after losing to Alabama, had that thrilling win against Arkansas, beat Tennessee in a close one, and beat LSU. I feel like they're going to come in with an attitude, ranked in the top 10 again. I like what I see from Ole Miss a little bit more than I do Auburn, just enough for me to take them in a shootout. This is going to be a great game. I'm going to take Ole Miss. Auburn is a 2.5-point favorite. And the FPI also likes Auburn too, but I like what I see out of Ole Miss more than I do what I see out of Auburn. And lastly, Michigan and Michigan State. It's a big rivalry game between both these teams. Honestly, now, whoever wins this game is going to take control of the Big Ten East. The winner of the Big Ten East is most likely going to be the winner of this game or Ohio State. Now, there are some other things that could happen, but the winner of this game is going to have a massive advantage throughout the rest of the season. They're going to have the tiebreaker on the other one, and needless to say, you're going to want to win this game. Now, what are these teams' strengths? These two teams are very similar. They both have decent but not game-changing quarterbacks. Cade McNamara for Michigan and Peyton Thorne for Michigan State. Both are good quarterbacks. Don't get me wrong. Both of these quarterbacks are good. Are they game-changing talents, though? I don't think so. I don't think Peyton Thorne or Cade McNamara is going out there for 500 yards and 6 touchdowns. What these teams do have strengths at is running the football. I think Michigan leads the nation in rushing offense, or they're up there. Blake Corum has 729 yards and 10 touchdowns in the year. Hassan Haskins looking equally as good, but Michigan State, they have their own running back in Kenneth Walker III. He's in the Heisman discussion he's 3 yards short of 1,000 this year. He's got 997 yards. And both these teams bring terrific defenses to the field. The most points Michigan State has given up in a game this year is 31 against Western Kentucky, and most of those 31 points came in the fourth quarter when the backups were in. Now, Michigan, and besides the Western Kentucky game, the next highest points they've given up was 21 the first week of the season in Northwestern. Let's look at Michigan's defense. The most points Michigan has given up in a game this year is 17 on the road again. Or no, 29 is the most they've given up on the road at Nebraska. Now, people were giving Michigan a rough time for this Nebraska game. Now, no one watched this game because everyone was watching Texas A&M and Alabama. Nebraska almost pulled off the upset, and I'm going to give Michigan a bit of a pass for this game because Nebraska been getting some close games against some good teams. And Michigan, this is normally the game Michigan finds a way to lose, found a way to win it. So good for Michigan. Coming off a big dominating win. There are two big advantages going for Michigan State this week. It's at home, And they're coming off of a bye week. Extra week to prepare. That's going to be big for Michigan State. It's close, man. A lot of running the football and clock management are going to be needed in this game. It could come down to who gets the ball last. These two teams have great defenses. I think it's going to be one in the trenches. I think this game is going down to a game-winning field goal by Michigan State. I like the home element for them. I like the fact that they've got an extra week to prepare. I think they barely edge it out against Michigan at home, 22-19. That is my score prediction. Hope you liked these picks. Sorry, I almost died in the middle. I was choking on the food I was eating. Sorry about that, but if you guys enjoyed, make sure you check out that World Series preview video I uploaded earlier. And I will see y'all next time. I'm glad I got this computer back. Also, before I leave, if you made it this far, you're going to want to hear this. Thank you guys so much for 3,000 subscribers. I hit it during the Indiana game. I checked my phone. I hit 3,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much for that. I want to make a 3K sub special, but I don't really know what to do. So I made a community post. Comment below any ideas you have for a 3K sub special. I will take the best idea and upload it either Wednesday or tomorrow. Tomorrow I want to stream for the World Series, so we'll see. It'll be up sometime this week. But drop your suggestions in the in that community post comment section. But I'll see you guys next time.